I'm excited to be here at the Diana Initiative. Like introduced, my name is Kyle Levine. I'm a senior staff privacy engineer at Google, and I'll be speaking on a topic that I've been working on for over 8 years at Google. So for over 15 years, Google's offered its users the ability to take your Google data with you, even if you're no longer using a Google service. We see data portability as a secure way to foster innovation and competition among digital service providers when people can easily switch to new products and services without the fear of losing access to their data. Companies are encouraged to provide the best possible services to win new users and to keep new users without keeping their products stale. And so ultimately, this goal is a user-first goal. Accordingly, we've been offering like free tools to do this for a long time. Currently, there's more than 80 products that you can actually use through Google Takeout. And we'll talk about some of the innovations along the way. So it's our centralized user-facing portability tool. You can export copies of data. You can select specific data to download, which makes it flexible for various use cases like exporting images for editing, freeing up space in your account, creating backups, migrating files, or just using the same data in a different service. You can transfer to multiple places like cloud providers, as well as downloading it to your laptop to do your own data analysis, or to other third parties. And then it was actually built in a desktop environment, very desktop heavy environment, but as the world's changed, we've had to adapt the product quite a bit to be able to make it more flexible and useful in a mobile first world. And so the data that's available really depends on user settings. So like this slide illustrates the user interface when logged into a Google account. And if web and app activity is enabled, your search history is stored in the user's account and visible in My Activity. And so when you're logged in and the setting is on, the data is going to be available in Google Takeout, independent of your browser or platform or operating system. And then like you see here in the Omni box where some browsers use Google Search by default, that would be in there as well. So we have the controls here for the users. And then once it's stored and controllable in your account, you can access it via Google Takeout. 95% of these exports are completed in less than 4 hours for an entire Google account. And even for frequent users with lots of data, the exports generally take less than 7 hours. But users have granular control over this, so they can select specific dates, the delivery method, decide the frequency, and then choose preferred file formats. In this example, a user selected to export a copy of their Google activity data into a Google Drive file for every 2 months for up to a year. So what does this look like? Here you can see an example of exported search history data in JSON format. So here you have the header, which is like search, title, the search query or the visited page title, title URL, the corresponding URL, time, the timestamp of the activity, products, the actual Google product involved, and activity controls. So here you can see that like that web and app activity was switched on. And like from the bottom, you can see that the most recent activity is at the top. But what happened is the user searched for lower back pain, and then the user went and visited low back pain pictures from the Cleveland Clinic. Here you're seeing the process of indirect data transfer to third parties via a drop zone or a cloud storage provider. The first step, the user selects a cloud storage provider as the destination for the exported files. Here it's Dropbox. And then the second, the third party requests read access to that cloud storage. And so the user must explicitly accept this request for privacy and security reasons. Once authorized, the third party can pull the data from the drop zone. And like there are a lot of different use cases for this that people, especially in the scientific community and then researchers, are really excited about. In addition to drop zone, also some specific products within Takeout allow for direct transfer to a third-party provider. So in this example, you can see a user who wants to share all of their photos data from Google Photos to Apple iCloud Photos. And then that sends you to Apple to authenticate and then send that data. So making this easier. One of the longtime goals of this whole team is to make this as easy as possible for people to actually use their data in ways that they want to use it. So we've recently launched in limited geographies a third-party API, which allows third parties authorized by the end users to effectively move their data. And due to potential misuses of this data, we really want to make sure to do this as transparently and securely as possible. And so here's how the product's pretty much evolved over the years. So in classic takeout, users used to just download their data onto their machine. And then also we had data being backed up to third parties where you could directly upload that to cloud providers. Then newer features, which is the data transfer project, which we talked about slightly at the beginning. But that's showing you like that Apple example where you can send photos directly to Apple. And what we're really excited now, and what we currently have released in the European Economic Union, is a more robust standalone solution where third-party developers can integrate directly with a third-party API provided by Google to initiate the data transfer from their surface. And so why did we want to do something different? We really wanted to let users transfer their data if they wanted to without having to visit Takeout and to manually download it or to actually select where they're going. We wanted it to be scalable without Google having to host a long list of providers and do custom work for each of those integrations. So like you saw with like the Apple example. Safety also is a top priority. And through OAuth, we actually do security verification on third parties requesting sensitive data on behalf of a user, but make it very clear to the user it's their authorization to transfer data and that we're not trying to keep it. And last, we wanted to be able to do this on third-party developer schedules and not Google schedules. So there's not an interaction with like our engineering team in Takeout. And so what have we done to do this? We have developed extensive documentation on our developer site to help third-party developers, including quick start guides, data schema reference, and more. Here you can see examples of the data schema referenced in the guide. And kind of some of the stuff you see there aligns with what you had seen in the JSON example. So you see schemas based on data fields, definitions, example apps using that field, and the data field type. Sorry, I'm kind of rushing through this and want to be able to answer anyone's questions if you want, but also happy to slow down. But as people have more and more of their life online, like I was talking about, we really wanted to evolve our tools to enable people to use data in different ways across platforms. Anytime you're taking data and moving it somewhere else, you're opening yourself up to additional use of that data. You're opening yourself up to potential phishing scams, potential data exfiltration, and also just leaving yourself generally more vulnerable to attacks. This is something we've thought about and are really trying to prevent as much as possible, as you'll be able to see in the user journey of directly transferring data leveraging the API. So in this example, you see this fictitious music app called Tunery. And a user goes into their Tunery app and requests to transfer their existing music library from Tunery to other services. And then here, the user selects YouTube Music. And so you see transfer a copy of your YouTube Music directly. Next, the user is presented with a flow where we ask them to authenticate their account. If they have two-factor is required, really any other way that you would authenticate. And due to the fact the user, like I was talking about, is moving their data from one place to another, we really want to make the process secure, transparent, and very clear to the user exactly what's happening and what could happen to their data once it leaves the Google account. And so the flow shows description of the data, how the transfer works, along with like a pop-up saying you're about to make an important choice about your data, and here's what's going to happen to it when it's somewhere else, and that it's also under a different privacy policy. So then the user can select the specific data types and the duration they would like Tunery to access from their YouTube Music. And like I said, we've put a lot of effort into the transparency because this data can be sensitive and we want to make sure the user is aware. And so this might seem a little bit like overkill, but confirmation of the data sharing, the first time when the user authorizes the access, the very first time the third-party app completes the copy request, we notify the user. First reminder is sent 15th day after granting the time-based access, just to let you know again that someone else has access. Subsequent reminders will be sent every 30 days, applicable when the user also renews the access. And then renewal notifications 30 days before access expiration, and then 7 days before access expiration. We really are trying to like be overly clear on this because of the sensitivity potentially. And then one per third-party app project. So multiple third-party apps exist for the same user. Renewal emails are actually sent every time. And so here's some of the features. So step 1 through 5, you really kind of saw in the user flow. Now the developer flow, and once the developer obtains an OAuth token with the scope, we initiate the portability archive with the attached OAuth token and that scope. The endpoint returns whether or not the data archive is ready. Sometimes you have to call it more than once or call it multiple times. And once it's ready, it provides signed URLs. At that point, the data is downloaded from the cloud storage bucket with the signed URLs. And then it also has in it the ongoing access protocols. So you have like the initiate portability archive response contains an access type field, which is either access type one time or access type time-based, as you can see from the other options. To make another time-based export, all previous jobs for any of the requested resources must have been completed within at least 24 hours ago. Complete, failed, or canceled. And so just to make sure that it, like the retry has had enough times to get all that data and send it out. Otherwise, the third-party app gets an error message listing the previous job IDs and the timestamp when a new job can actually start. And so that you see like already exists time-based if it exactly matches a previous job, and then resource exhausted time-based otherwise. So incremental support for the scope like my activity that we talked about earlier. This feature is also available for third-party developers when initiating exports, and the end user experience is unchanged. It includes time range filtering that allows for exporting data within a specific time range, including exporting data since the last export. Developers can specify optional start times or end times values when initiating exports. Completed exports contain metadata for start time and export time. And also export time is end time if it was specified, otherwise it's the time of the request. And this can be used both with one-time and the time-based access tokens authorized by the user initiating the request. And so now we're going to talk about renewal. So users can renew access through their My Account page when they have a grant expiring within 30 days. This resets the lifetime of the refresh token to 180 days. Then 7 days before the expiration, we email the user with the link to renew. The link to the project on the My Account page isn't personalized, so the third-party app can actually use the link as well. And the third-party app cannot see how long until the refresh token expires and won't be able to be notified that it's been renewed. The third party should just continue using it until they would get a refresh error. And then this is actually the flow also for an access renewal email. So on the left-hand side, you see a notification about Tunery's access to your data being about to expire. To regrant access, we require a reauth again. Then you can renew the access, see more details, delete the current access, or if you go forward, you can see that when the access is actually set to expire. The data Tunery currently has access to and what they can actually do with that data that they have. And then if you'd like to renew the access, you continue with similar screens like the initial journey. And that is basically walking through a third-party API to get access to account data securely and safely with a lot of transparency to the user.
Thank you.
Any question? Oh, yeah.
It's been a while since I last used it. I'm sorry.
So I've got 3 questions, and some of them are dumb. I'm a law person. I'm just transitioning.
None of them are dumb. So there's a
So
lot involved with name changes, actually, and so
it's probably easier to do it the other way.
if you truly want the name changed, it's easier to do it the other way. There's a lot of like reasons like why you would do one way and why you might not make changes the other. Some include like if you knew someone from 10 years ago, or you were looking up a document that you know someone wrote 10 years ago, and you or at the same company,
Yeah.
you want to be able to index it by that or know that like this person who we haven't seen in 8 years wrote this thing. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of reasons, but that's like one that actually makes sense. Yeah, I mean, some of the other use cases around it, actually, there's a lot of studies right now based on things that don't necessarily seem correlated, but like a user's search history and what kind of like disease prediction you might have, or like And these are things that like we don't do, but that users have authorized third-party like medical researchers to take a look at and say like, if you're a 32-year-old person who talks about like having stomach pain and sometimes like headaches and all these things, and like they correlate like millions of people's data and hundreds of thousands of people's data to come up then, and then you do it like based on like actual medical studies from the people because you know who these people are because they're explicitly granting you the access. There's like a lot of like medical studies going on with things like that.
I mean, yeah, because if you're the first thing you're gonna do is search for a symptom, you're not gonna go on an app and log that you have that symptom.
Right.
So you could use that to like look at how many times have I really had a migraine in the past 3 years.
And that's one of the big things, and I guess I didn't exactly say it, that's one of the big differences between having like a third-party API where like anyone can access certain data based on scopes and then directly transferring things like photos from one photo album to another or email from one account to another. There's like a lot of uses that we're trying to enable people, they have data, it's their data, in ways that they can unlock information about themselves if they choose with other providers.
Cool, thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Thank you for working on this.
Thanks.
I actually use Data, but rarely, so I need to go back and use it more.
Yeah, I mean, it's a copy of the data. It depends what you want to use it for.
There's no backup, basically.
Yeah, and if you want it for backup, like you hopefully aren't using it that often. But there are things that we're building that hopefully will enable you to have more access to it, and then actually trying other services or similar services with the same data there. And then there are like, I think, like you were asking about, there's other like ways to access like health data specifically through like FHIR protocol and through different like APIs actually on different hardware.